So hello everybody and welcome back to the EQLovesFestival interviews. Today we're talking to Anya. Hello Anya.
Hi, how are you?
So Anya's with us from, is it Melbourne, right?
Yep,
All right,
yep.
yeah. You can start with introducing yourself with your full name and your work title.
Yes, so it's Anya Trabala, and I make electronic music under an artist named Mlinush, is my artist name. I also run a feminist music collective called Synth Babes. And yeah, I'd say I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I do a lot of different things, digital art, writing, music, but for the last couple of years I've been focusing quite a lot on music. So yeah.
So what was it in the production part of creating and working around music that was appealing to you?
I think look, I've always been really fascinated by production, but it's taken a long time to actually get into it. I started my music journey as a trumpet player, and then I got into singing, and then eventually I discovered Ableton Live, which was like a revelation. Like I love working in that software. It's very therapeutic, I find, and it's just very satisfying, I think, to be able to bring together different elements of music and make a piece of music.
So tell me a bit more about the work you've done. Like what happened after you decided that you wanted to start working with music, like from then to now?
I was told a lot that, oh, being a musician is very hard. It's hard to make a living. It's hard to do this. It's hard to do that. So I just kept getting these messages that maybe music isn't how I'm going to make my money. You want music to be like your, everyday, like this is who I am. And it's taken a really long time for me to go, well, I'm a music producer. Mm-hmm. It's taken a long time to actually identify as that, because of the journey that I've taken. I think as a woman in music as well, it was very hard in my teenage years because I was one of maybe two girls in the class, and there were a whole range of boys in the class, and you feel a little bit intimidated, and that, oh, you're just the singer, you're just the singer, or maybe a guitar player, or you play piano or something. So I went out a lot, partied a lot in Melbourne, which is a very strong dance culture, but all I saw was men up there, so I didn't have that many role models, and even the crowd was very masculine. So I felt it was that intimidation that I just was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. And so then I met my now husband, Swedish, and we stayed in the countryside for about 6 months to wait for his visa. And in that time, I set up a studio in their garage. And it was in the summertime in Sweden. So my family thought I was really weird to be spending my sommertid.
Yeah, exactly.
His grandfather was like, well, what is she doing in there? Mm-hmm. And I was just messing around with Ableton and started to explore the music and explore what software did, what I could do with the software. So for the last 10 years, I've been living between Melbourne and Malmö, which has been a bit hectic. But we moved back to Melbourne, and I had a bit of a mental health breakdown, and was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And then I started making music properly. I actually decided that, no, I'm going to finish my songs, because I had hundreds of projects. I had all these projects on my computer, and didn't want to show anyone my music, didn't want to share it or anything. And then finally, I actually entered a competition to put music to a short film. And I used that as a way to finish my first song. And that was a really good method, actually, because it gave me a deadline. And then, so I was like, all right, I have to have my song finished by this date. And that song is still my most popular song. People still love that song. That's the one that people gravitate the most to, and maybe it's because it was my first one.
Nice.
And it's quite an emotional song. So yeah, so it's been like this really like long, like it's not a straight line. You know, when you think about music, it's never a straight line. I think everyone's journey is very different. But also, like in my early 20s, I was like, well, I haven't made it. You know, I haven't, you know, made it to this point. So I'm over. It's over for me. And I think a lot of women, female artists, feel that way. Like, you've got to use by date.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like
and I'm
30.
Like, no,
it's not.
Like, look at Björk and look at artists like Suzanne Ciani, who's 70 and still touring the world. You know, yeah, exactly. It's just the industry and the patriarchy just telling us that that you have to be X, Y, Z. You have to be, you know, young and that's it. And it's a toxic thing about the music industry. It's so not helpful for women.
What would you consider is the best thing about your job?
I just think the excitement I get when I make something new is it's the best feeling. Like when you're surprised by what comes out, and it's something that you've made out of nothing, and that's honestly the best feeling. I think that's the best thing. It's very empowering, and I think the fact is, like, you just keep getting better at it. You just keep applying yourself and keep sculpting the sound and keep I think it's the creative process that I really love.
And there's no stop, really. You can get, you know, better and better all the time.
Yeah, and keep getting better and better. But I often think I'm not doing enough, like, or doing it enough. But I just think each to their own. Like, if some people can just like smash out song after song, or work with these people, and that, for me, it's more of I need to be triggered by something to make something. First we had the bushfires in Victoria, in Australia.
Yes. Vaguely remember.
So the bushfires, so the whole city smelled like smoke, and it was just really like intense and just devastating. Like, I can't even. And then the pandemic. Now we're in lockdown, so we're in actually stage 4 lockdowns, which means we can't leave 5 kilometers outside our house. We can only leave for shopping. I just feel like, things are just getting more and more narrow, but that actually has made me more and more productive, which is weird. So like, I've actually been working on new material, like new album, because I have all this time to make new music and think about new projects and new directions. So I think there have been some silver linings with COVID for me personally. Made me kind of stop and reflect on life and which direction I want to take, because before that I was just a mess and didn't really know. Whereas now I'm like, okay.
So we've got a question to the contrary now. What would you say is the biggest challenge of your job?
I think that's the hardest part, is once you make something and you're really happy with what you make, are the barriers you face to try and get it out there. I think, like, there are so many gatekeepers when it comes to industry that it feels very like you're hitting like glass. It's a glass ceiling, I think, a lot of the time. So, I mean, since, like, I've been building quite a solid following and things in Sweden for the last 4 years. And then because of my health, I moved back to Australia, and just trying to get back into the industry here, it's just like, it's really frustrating because there's so many like moving parts and you know, it's all about the Puno, and it's just, I hate all that. I just hate that so much. And I find just the industry itself, it's quite exploitative and not very artist friendly, and that's probably the hardest part. And I mean, that's why I started Synth Babes a few years ago. It was because it was originally Synth Babe Records. Was because all my favorite artists all had their own record labels. So I was like, well, I'm just going to start my own record label then.
And the gatekeepers, they aren't very brave, are they? They're like, they're very afraid to take a risk.
Oh, and that's the freaking problem, is like, you know, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, look at the amazing music that came out in that period of time in the 90s, you know, because there were people working in the industry that actually cared about music. Whereas, you know, you get into recent times and it's all the same. It's all Ed Sheeran. That's it.
Exactly. And it's all about following and social media, and, you know.
It's just gross. It's just really gross. And I'm just like so sick of it. And I just think that there's time now for a revolution, because I think a lot of artists will probably be making a lot of amazing music right now.
Let's just hope 2021. Next
2021 I'll be hoping to be in Europe. But I mean,
music. Can you think of like a moment in your career that changed things to the better for you?
I have to say, like, moving to Malmo was a bit of a turning point in terms of freedom. Because I mean, you know, I've spent my 20s living in Melbourne mainly, and there's a lot of history here and there's a lot of baggage. And then I moved to Malmo, and then I don't know, like maybe because I was a big fish in a small pond, or like a new, you know, I was from somewhere, and then I brought that energy, I think, to where I was based. And then I just like made the music I always wanted to make. Actually, there was one week I went to to Copenhagen to RM Core, Rhythmic Conservatory, and did like a long program of like electronic music artists that were from all over Europe, and they all came to the one place for a whole week, and we all worked together on music and techniques. And that's where I learned like field recording and modular synths, and that was a really transformative week. Actually, that was like, I don't know, I felt like a producer then.
Oh, sounds awesome.
Because I was selected, because they selected like 10 people, and I was like there amongst other producers showing my work. So that was a bit of a turning point, I think, actually, now I think about it. And then meeting a lot of like-minded artists in Malmo, and I miss that. I miss them now. But I had to change my scene, because this wasn't working for me health-wise. Oh, we talk to each other online, so it's good. It's funny, like I've actually reconnected with a lot of people more than I probably would have before, and I've actually met some new friends in this pandemic.
Oh wow!
Yeah, through these
bad.
online things that I've been doing. Yeah.
Wow. And has there been any difference in your line of work, in the accessibility to reach partners in the music business during COVID-19 to how it was before the pandemic?
I think because of COVID, I've gone online a lot more, and because of that, I've met other people that will that are aligned with what I'm doing, and now will move towards my goals, and you know they can. I think because of that, because of COVID, I've gone online, met a lot more people online. Like I've been holding weekly production challenges every Thursday night. Ooh. So every Thursday night I set a sample and then get everyone to work for an hour, and then we show each other our works, which is really fun. Oh. So I've been doing that every week for the last 2 months. It's kind of been the only regular thing that I've done every week.
Sounds like fun.
Which is great. I mean, you're welcome to join. I'll send you a link.
Oh, thank you.
But, yes, it's just a really good way to think of new ideas. And then through that, I've met some amazing producers, that I'm collaborating with now. So,
have you changed anything in the way that you work since then?
Well, I've been working with this guy, Nick, who has a studio in the countryside, and I was meant to record there and do some work in this studio, but instead we've been doing it, he's been downloading stuff, listening to it, he's sitting on my, phone, I'm talking to him. It's just, trying to work around all these new rules in Melbourne. You can't go to we can't even go to a studio. It's complicated. It's annoying because I also met two other people, and we've been writing children's music together, and we just before the lockdowns happened, we came up with these beautiful songs, and we have to wait until the end of lockdown to actually get together and record those songs.
Very annoying.
That's really frustrating. You're like, I just want to get it recorded, and make it.
But do you have any thoughts on how we can achieve equality within music production? Like, have you had any thoughts, like, maybe we can improve this?
I think the most important thing is for it to come from education, from the school level. So when students are at, in a high school level, even from primary school level, like, grundskola and in a gymnasium.
Yes.
I think getting more women involved at that level, at that age, is so crucial. And I think things like Popkolo are just incredible tools, incredible organizations that do that. But I think for it to really change is for it to start there, and then also for more mentoring to happen across the board. I think that's the way. I mean, I definitely see changes now than maybe even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
See a lot more. Yeah, just more encouragement, and then having role models,
Exactly.
like other women
Exactly.
behind the decks, performing on stage.
Yeah.
Especially with electronic music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on what's important to someone who's in the beginning of their career and they want a future as a music producer?
I think just learning, for me, I wish I'd done some really rudimentary learning about it rather than DIY, because when you're DIY and you're just like experimenting, you miss a lot of the basic things, and then you get you lose a bit of confidence. So I think in the beginning it's really good to maybe learn like some basic terminology and what things mean, just to empower yourself.
Exactly.
And just to feel in control of it. And then just, I don't know, like, you don't have to, but you don't have to know everything as well at the same time. I think just jump into the software, jump into different experimentations, listen to a lot of music. Like, I think I spent most of my 20s just listening to a lot of music, going to a lot of live gigs, seeing what other musicians did. I just absorbed a lot. And I didn't make that much. I didn't really make that much in my 20s. Like, it was in my late 20s that I was like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to formulate my sound, and this is like, and when people listen to my music, they're like, yeah, I can see the influences from all these different artists in your music. It's just about also finding your own voice and your own style, I think.
Where, from who, or in what context have you managed to find support?
Well, I was really disappointed when I was, a bit younger and starting to get into this music production business, and then reaching out to sort of male role models that I looked up to a lot, and were, supported through going to their gigs and whatnot, and just not feeling like they really helped me. I was really disappointed. But then I've got over that, and I thought, nah, I'm going to start my own collective, and that's when I started Synth Babes. And then through that, I met some amazing soulmates, music soulmates that, I think we had such an impact on each other, because we were like able to send music and listen to each other's music and give feedback and stuff. And then that accelerated all our productions. So having that was really vital. Having your like cheerleading, cheer squad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With the pom-poms and everything, that would be great.
Yeah.
Right. Who is your main inspiration or role model in relation to your work? Or it can be several, of course.
So many. But I think the most influential would have to be Karin Dreyer from The Knife and Fever. I think not only her music, but also what she represents, and just everything about her. I find her so inspiring. She's so fearless when it comes to her music, and her voice is very intense and emotional. And also, I mean, she started her own label and was releasing her own music, you know, and that really inspired me a lot. And even lyrically, I think it's interesting when Swedish musicians sing in English, like they have this interesting way of constructing words and phrases that an English, like a native English speaker wouldn't. And I find that really fascinating, actually.
Is it like good weird or bad weird?
It's just kind of it messes with your mind a bit.
Oh.
Like, what did you mean by that? Yeah, I find that really fascinating.
What technique or work method are you using? Have you developed your own way of doing things?
I mean, I use Ableton Live as my main instrument. I'd say it's my main instrument because I put in a lot of different samples. So I do a lot of field recording, and then I've been exploring soft synths a lot. So Arturia synths and things like that. Depends. Like some days I can't make anything make it sound good, and then other days I'm really inspired and I suddenly come up with something that I'm like, oh, I don't even know how that happened. So it depends day to day. It kind of changes.
Yeah, I think it's like that. If you're a creative person, it's gonna be sort of different from day to day.
And some days it sounds like crap, and then other days it sounds really good. So I don't know if it's something to do with your moods. But that's the thing also with production. It takes time. It takes time. It takes dedication, and it takes practice, and it takes, you know, a lot of experimentation to get to a sound that you're actually happy with, and that's okay. You know, that's the process, and you got to trust the process.
In regards to challenges in your work, do you have any thoughts on how to overcome challenges, or like something that you've learned along the way?
Like if you get a block.
Exactly.
Like if you block something.
Exactly.
I think just walk away from it for a while. If it's not sounding the way you want it to do, just walk away or start something new, or I don't know, read a book or something, and then come back to it later with a fresh perspective. Maybe add a new instrument or add some voice to it, or I think just come back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes just accept it's not going to sound good.
Exactly.
And be kind to yourself.
Yeah. What would you consider is something that is helpful during your work processes? Like something you listen to, or something like being in the country or whatever?
Always nature is always magical. To go for a walk amongst some trees or water or animals. I think is always a good method. Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any further thoughts on what the music industry looks like in this day and age?
Well, personally, I'm actually sort of developing an idea to create a more ethical social platform for creatives that would allow them to connect more directly with fans and not have to have an industry, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, actually it does. Like a way.
Yeah, like what MySpace used to be like. I don't know if you remember MySpace.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Something like that, but better, you know, into 2020.
Exactly.
Because I think artists are very frustrated with the current state of everything. Spotify, everything. It's just a mess. It's just a mess, you know? And I really want to see a return to collecting music.
Yes.
You know, like how we used to collect CDs, or how we used to collect records, or how we used to collect, you know, artifacts. But maybe in a digital way. There's maybe a way to do that in the future.
And no more gatekeepers with like no courage at all.
Yeah, totally. Just get rid of them. You know, it just makes me really sick that the industry can thrive and that people in the industry can have jobs and have employment and, you know, profit off musicians. And yet a lot of musicians can't even pay their bills, you know, or have really poor mental health.
Yeah. Like, would you like to talk a little bit about Synth Babes and what you do in there?
Yes. Synth Babes was just, it's something I started. I was really inspired by, there's a record label in Australia called Milk Records, and it's a bunch of friends, it's more rock music. And it was just a bunch of friends getting together, releasing music, having, you know, putting on parties together. And, you know, I used to attend those events and I was like, you know what, this is like really cool. Like, I really want to do this. And so then I just started it, and I thought, why not make it a focus on women and gender diverse, you know, artists that are not as represented in electronic music.
Any special future plans for Synth Babes?
Well, I'm going to hold like an online artist development camp, kind of like a pop collar.
Yeah.
So get like maybe around 12 different artists that are kind of, you know, ready to maybe finish an album or finish an EP, and bring them on board all together and then develop them. So I'm hoping to do that in the summer.
Right, yeah.
Here in Australia, yeah. And probably get like mentors and stuff. So that's the plan.
We're going to play a video from you very soon.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a bit about the video?
Yeah, so it's called Pull Me Out. It's a song I released last year on March 30th, which is World Bipolar Day. It was written the year before. You know, I experienced quite a hypomanic year and feeling like quite desperate. And it's, you know, lyrically, it's won't someone pull me out? It's like trying to, you know, come out of the darkness. It was actually filmed in Malmö, in where I used to have my studio, which is at Hulkajen. It's a really beautiful video shot by William EQLovesFestival. And yeah, we just didn't have any plans for it. It just kind of evolved really organically. And I'm wearing a really amazing jacket. Actually, this top is actually from the same designer from the video. So Josephine Gennert. She's actually in Gothenburg. So.
Right. We want to thank you, Anya, and Synth Babes too, I guess.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much,
you so much
for participating in EQLovesFestival. And yeah, it's we're looking forward to see the video. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation. Very happy about it. Bye.